piece, I want to talk about the holiday let market. I've said here, it is boom time. I read a report by Sykes Holiday Cottages in the last week or so. It's their annual report. Now, some of you will know who Sykes are, some of you will not. Now, Sykes, for those who don't know them, they've got 22,000 holiday lets on their books as agents. So I don't know if they are the largest holiday let agent in the UK, but if not, they must be there or thereabouts. And looking through their annual report, I just pulled out a little bit of data that I thought for you guys that are either thinking of getting into holiday lets or looking to expand your holiday let portfolio, then it makes for really interesting and in fact exciting reading. So here's some of the sort of key stats that caught my eye. Now, the figures you can see here, first of all, I want to say what's the comparative data. So what Sykes did was they looked at the last full year before COVID got involved. That was 2019. And they compared it to 2022. So those are the two comparable years that they are full years without the impact of COVID being involved at all. And as you can see here on my slide, is that bookings were up 48% across those 2 years. Huge, significant figure. What I think is even more important than the number of bookings is the revenue. What's the turnover that was generated? It's gone up by 50%. And this is per holiday let. This is on average per holiday let. The revenue from 2019 to 2022 increased by 58%. Now, an old friend, an accountant of mine once said, it's not how much money you earn that matters, it's how much money you keep. So this is turnover. This is the top line figure. So there are still, of course, costs involved in running a holiday let, but my word, an extra 58% on the top line is a tremendously positive sort of start to the revenue that you're going to get on a holiday let. They've also had a quick look at 2023 because, okay, well, that's fantastic, Richard, you might say. And maybe you think, well, that's a sort of staycation hangover after 2021, where people are still a bit nervous about going abroad. And I think that's a fair point, that the ripple effect of staycationing and one not being allowed to go abroad or people now thinking they might stay in the UK may well be continuing. So Sykes have looked at 2023. Obviously, we're only into May already, but looking at the comparable year just from 2022, first few months of 2022 to the same months in 2023, there's a further 9% increase year on year revenues. So it wasn't just a one-off. It's not dropping back down as everybody's going back out to Benidorm again. There's a continuation. You would expect it to drop. Of course, you can't expect a 58% increase to continue year on year, but the fact that we're seeing a 9% increase between 22 and 23 is a really positive point as people now are maybe reigniting their love for the UK. They're looking to obviously have holidays. Maybe they're cheaper holidays as well. We've obviously got the cost of living issues going on there. So if people are thinking that it's cheaper to holiday in the UK, then I think there's a little bit of that going on there. Another point that I picked out of this report is that Sykes are seeing there's more of a trend away from longer breaks to shorter breaks. And again, as I said, we've got 10% plus inflation, food prices going up significantly more than that, energy prices, we all know about that. So there's this shift towards maybe more long weekends than 1 to 2 weeks. So although that might be worrying, the fact that overall revenue is up, I wouldn't be concerned about that. And if you're looking to go into holiday lets, then the way that if you're not giving that to a professional agency, then you're looking to manage it yourself. Then I think the way you're pricing, clearly you've got to weight your pricing over those weekend days. It looks obvious, but this piece of statistic, reinforces the need to get your pricing sorted properly. One thing that really scratched my head on here, the main reason for buying a holiday let, the top reason, 52% of people buy a holiday let because they can use it for personal use. It throws me a little bit. That I get that some people might have a holiday home, but therefore it wouldn't be with Sykes, would it? So it must be for investment purposes. It's got to be for revenue generating purposes. And that would worry me a little if our landlords were buying a holiday let primarily for personal use, because that suggests to me that people are buying with this thing. They're buying with their heart, not with their head. And therefore people might make the wrong decisions. They might be buying in the wrong area that's not necessarily optimized to maximize revenue. And from my perspective, as a portfolio landlord, as a landlord that's got holiday lets, my view is if you buy a holiday let purely with your head, purely on objective data that's financially going to get you the best returns and puts more money in your pocket, that gives me more profits to get holidays where I want. If I'm not using that holiday let for personal use, I can rent it out, take the money and holiday wherever I want instead of being locked into one place. So I'm really puzzled a little bit by that logic. Now linked to that, they've also taken a look at what are the up and coming areas? What are those areas around the UK where they're going to offer the best longer term investment returns? They've looked at trends of demand. They've looked at what are the current property prices right now, and is that good value for money? What are been the trending property price increases, and correlated that by postcode. And these are them in order. So who knew? Cheshire has come out top of the list. We've got Anglesey, obviously, just off the coast of North Wales. The Lakes, now that's an interesting one. For me, you've got to be really careful about that. You've got the Lake District National Park, of course, which is pretty much overcooked. The property prices there are significant. So I'm wondering whether they're thinking that's more in the wider Lakes and Cumbria area, maybe more around the M6 area. We've seen a few landlords buy just outside the park, but close proximity to it. You know, Carlisle area, for example. Certainly seen a few of our sort of clients looking in that area. We've got one area over the border up in Scotland. Of course, that's licensed now, so you've got to bear in that in mind that there's more hurdles to jump through. But I've got a feeling I'm going to be talking about that in England in the not too distant future. We'll keep that for another day. And then Norfolk and back to Wales again, back in some sort of in Pembroke area. So some interesting points about the top 7 areas that Sykes really see based on the data that they have that are the sort of good sort of buying areas. So that I'm hoping that will be of interest to you guys that are buying holiday lets in 2023. The final point I want to make on this holiday let section is on the tips that Sykes are saying will help you to push revenues above the average. Might not be surprised to hear hot tubs. Add an extra 37% to the revenue compared to a very similar property, comparable property that doesn't have a hot tub. That's the curb appeal. That's the extra bang for your buck you're going to get for investing in a hot tub. Now, remember, 37% is on turnover. There is maintenance, and you've got to be really careful. I know a number of our landlords that have got hot tubs, and of course, keeping them absolutely squeaky clean, having a great maintenance contract, having them cleaned, maybe emptied on a weekly basis is really, really important. You get that wrong and you're going to get those bad reviews. So make sure that you've got your systems in place to manage that particular feature really well. But 37% increase to the revenue. So certainly if you've got room for a hot tub, I would seriously consider having one put in. Another point, again, maybe not surprisingly, having it pet friendly. Don't ban the pets if you can. Adds another 31% to the turnover of your holiday let. And the other point on here is Wi-Fi. Now, so adding 26% of revenue. Okay, I didn't know that there might be some properties that that might not have Wi-Fi. You'd think the vast majority do, but if you don't, or you think, well, that's an extra cost to me, you could be losing out on 26% revenue. So some really interesting points that Sykes brought out here, and hopefully that is of use to you guys that I say that are thinking of buying holiday lets. And if you are, and then you want to have a chat with us about what do the mortgages look like, because the mortgages are different for holiday lets than a traditional buy-to-let. So you need to be chatting to a broker that does understand the difference, how you're going to be managing them, and what the projections are likely to be. Then all that links into the types of mortgages that you can get for a holiday let property. So again, if you want to have a chat with us, have a click on the link that we're going to get put at the end of this piece, and we'll be happy to have a chat and give you our advice.